Ooh la la.
Ooh la la indeed.
Hey, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here, hello.
Cranked multiple times today.
Indeed.
Sir Michael.
Right. Dan and I had a bit of an experience yesterday. We had a 100-watt high watt. So we filmed 2 days on the trot. Actually, it was Tuesday and now it's Thursday. I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah. After Tuesday, Wednesday it evaporated into
Space-time
nothing.
continuum shift.
Destroyed everything.
Galaxies collided.
Yeah. It was our first experience in that setting with I've heard one before. I've been in a room with one before, but not spent any time with it. And in this environment where we know now sort of understand how it sounds.
100-watt high watt.
Just
colour sound,
every
power
expletive
booster.
you can think of.
Yeah. So I'm not sure that video will probably go out. Yes, it has gone out because it's going out tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Check out this for a space-time continuum. So that video will be up. 100-watt high watt colour sound power booster. So we're altered by the movement of rock. Totally different way to do things. 2-3 weeks ago, see now we're really mucking about. A few weeks ago we did the Origin Effects Revival Drive, which is unabridged amp tone, don't you know?
That is, yes. Ghosting Overdrive.
Yeah, and the comments on that video were fascinating. We split the audience pretty much straight down the middle. 50% of you were like, that, way too complicated, can't be arsed with that. But it sounds great. Actually, not quite 50-50. One of the other big opinions was, that sounds excellent, great, happy days. And the other one was, I don't like the sound of that at all. And the final opinion, so we split it 4 ways, 25%, see, was, you guys didn't use it right, you didn't have it into the right amp, you didn't spend enough time with it.
So we're going to level the playing field.
We're levelling the playing field because Victory has just launched the V4 series pedals. Now, Daniel, I have to declare an interest here.
Okay.
So Simon and I make all Victory's promo videos. So I've spent a lot of time with these pedals. I have also been a beta tester for Victory. Pretty much ever since the company started, and I have great friends there. So I am going to do my best not to pass any opinion.
Okay.
That's going to be impossible. But I just thought I'd get that out there. You know, however, to try and address that, let's compare it directly with the Revival Drive and the Kingsley Constable.
Which is exceptional.
Which is, to date, my favourite Marshall style valve preamp pedal. Now, let's do this first. Go and watch the Victory videos if you want to hear the full story and all the marketing blurb and everything. Some good sounds in there, and they explain how to use the pedals. Also shot a video with an 8-year-old kid explaining how to use the pedals, just in case guitar players found it too complex.
That was very cool.
And he did a great job.
He was brilliant.
So the difference is, this one's got, I think, 1 or 2 valves in it. You opened it up earlier, can you remember?
2.
Because I managed to blow the mains fuse by using the wrong adapter with it. 2 valves in there, none in there, 4 in here.
Okay.
So it's the first, as far as they're aware, the first pedal format preamp, valve preamp to feature 4 valves and an all-valve signal path.
Okay.
These, let's just do this very quickly.
Oh, that's the jobby. Can I have a look at this for 1 second, please?
While you're looking at it, I'll tell you what they are.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
Spec'd by the MOD, made by Mullard.
A long time ago.
1951.
Yeah, because that's like seriously old packaging.
Yeah, spec'd by the MOD to NATO spec, called a CV4014. It is a pentode. Most preamp valves are dual triodes. That's a pentode. There's 3 of those in there and 1
12A7?
Nope. EC900, which is a triode, single triode. Now, They were made.
That's cool.
They were made for stuff like mobile military communications.
Okay.
So they were made to withstand vibration and all that business.
Do you know also why they withstand EMF?
Yeah. Nuclear wars.
As EMP, I should say, electromagnetic pulse weapons.
Yeah.
Valves can withstand those.
So when people say military spec, it doesn't just mean
it's actually
they're just built to a higher standard.
Yeah,
so much so, this is the last bit of Victory promo I will do. They're going to give you a 2-year warranty
on the valves.
Wow. Which is unheard of in valves. That's how confident they are. Anyway, they're new old stock.
That's amazing.
And so it's an interesting story. Do they sound any better than 12X7s? Don't know. But they work really well in this format, apparently.
Very nice.
So there you go.
I like new valves.
Also, there's a cabling method that we might come back to at the end of this video. The Victory V4 series are designed to be used in a kind of 4-cable method, which enables you to switch between the front end of your regular guitar amp, and then when you switch that pedal on, it switches the front end of your guitar amp off, and you hit the power amp directly.
Okay.
So you can use your amp exactly as you like it, or you can add an all-valve preamp and just hit the power amp directly, which is where we are today.
Yes.
Correct?
Correct. So
how have you wired us up?
Well, we have each of the preamps is in its own loop, so they're not influencing each other, and we just have a delay on the end for good measure.
Okay, just to be double clear about that, we're not touching the front end of the Hot Rod Deluxe at all. We're hitting the effects loop return.
There's a bit of reverb on the amp.
And I believe the presence control still works. We can test that out in a sec. But other than that, all the other controls on the Hot Rod Deluxe are redundant. When you plug into the power amp return, we've done this before with Kingsley pedals, you're just hitting the power amp. The amp is wide open, so word of warning, be careful if you do that. If you plug your pedal into the effects loop return of your Hot Rod Deluxe, the master volume is on 10.
That's wise, sage advice.
Yes,
Michael, sage advice.
So turn your volumes down before you switch on. Right,
swang away.
Let's go. Where are we? Constable. So we set these up to sound quite similar in the intro. You can go through it. Dan, don't touch this switch. That's the one that...
What? That button?
This is the ejector seat button.
Okay.
In that position, it's got an attenuated output.
Ah.
Right?
Yep.
In this center position, it's got a much higher output.
Okay.
And in this right-hand position...
is all the way open.
Is on 10.
Okay.
The mode switch, the two modes are blended currently. The two volumes are blended. As if you were plugging straight into the front of a 4-input Marshall and you had both channels.
Okay.
In fact, have a twiddle and see where we are with that. I hope this guitar's in tune. I've just put some new strings on it.
Change the mode for 1 second. So this is...
I think that you can switch between 1 and 2, I think. And if you want less overdrive, just turn the master down and the volumes up. Turn the master up and the volumes down.
Okay, just try that.
And just in the full output mode, there's this much just bring the master up slowly.
Wow.
So if you wanted maximum headroom, like really, if you wanted a much cleaner kind of, plexi type
yeah,
thing.
try that for a sec.
Watch our inputs there.
Yeah.
So there's a huge range in it. For the purposes of what we're doing today.
So that was the button I wasn't supposed to touch.
Well, don't put it all the way over that way.
Button.
If you put it all the way over that way, that goes to 10.
Oh, that comes out of the equation completely. Yeah. Oh, I see. Okay. And so now, is there any when you change that attenuation though, is there any more compression that adds to the output stage, or is it just like a master volume setting?
You'd have to ask Simon or look on the Kingsley website. All I know is that obviously you're cranking the master higher, so you're going to get more output style overdrive.
Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Right.
I haven't even mentioned on the back here there's 3 bright caps.
Oh, thank you.
What's semi-interesting about this is Dan is at speaker level, so is that sounding bright to you?
No.
It's not sounding bright?
No, it's sounding a bit dark. I mean, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Very warm. We're just wondering,
Try the different bright caps.
Killer.
It's very good.
That's wonderful.
I think we should, when we come back to it, obviously play some different guitars and have a look at the clean sounds in it as well. So for me, that as a Marshall style preamp, that sets the standard for me. All your Marshall in a box style overdrive pedals, they're all good. They all do a job. That to me is in a different league because it is properly front end ampy.
Yep.
Which is what Victory has done with this one.
Okay.
But using 4 valves. So 2 channels, have a fiddle, see what you think.
Okay.
One thing that's quite interesting about a preamp style pedal, and this is true for certainly for the Constable and the Sheriff, is the EQ has a much bigger effect on the gain character than it does in a regular overdrive pedal. Would you mind just knocking the EQs back a bit?
Yep.
And so basically, if you have all the EQs fairly low, you get less gain. And if you have the all
yeah,
it's a totally
so it's
obvious thing to say.
pre-gain.
It's subtractive, isn't it, in this kind of circuit? So if you stick them all round to sort of 3 o'clock, you'll get a really chewy. And as always with Martin, the amount of gain that he puts in stuff
is
huge. If you wind that gain around a bit, it gets pretty crazy.
Okay. Wow.
Crazy amount of gain. Channel 1, not so much.
Oh, groovy.
Sorry,
baby.
just playing mindless rubbish. Struggling a bit actually. As a slight tangent before we move on to the revival drive, I've really fallen out of love with my Strat at the moment.
Have you?
My blue Strat, yeah. It's a really sad state of affairs, and I think
I can hear hearts breaking all over the world.
it's not me, it's it.
It's not me, it's you.
Yeah, it hates me at the moment. It absolutely hates me. I pick it up and it just won't be in tune. And I think, do you remember when we went to Italy with Danish Pete?
Mm-hmm.
And it was so hot and so sweaty.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds bad. My guitar wasn't the same for weeks after that.
Either was mine. But I tell you, the weirdest thing is in Italy, it was amazing.
Right.
It sounded great. Then we get home. Was it summer last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't know if it was the.
It just seemed to have taken on moisture or something. It just it wasn't right. Anyway, so I haven't played
That's
my
so interesting you say
blue
that.
Strat for a few shows, a couple of weeks. I'm on the hunt for a new Strat, and one of the reasons you'll see me playing the PRS Silver Sky. We've got some McMull guitars coming.
Awesome.
I'm going on a journey, Dan. I'm going on a journey to end up with a new Strat. Now I don't want to go away from Fender I don't want a different brand. I'm just playing some other stuff to get my brain in the Rabia Masad, when we were shooting these videos for Victory, he's got a 61 inspired by black Strat with gold hardware.
Right.
And it makes my Strat sound like a
Lesser Strat. Let's go with that.
a different thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm so in love with the sound of his guitar, so I'm on the hunt to get something more in that vein.
Okay.
Anyway, blah blah blah. Tangent. Let's
the EQ between the two channels is quite like the heavier gain. There's a lot more upper mids.
Yeah,
top end.
That's how it is on the Sheriff amp. So
I see.
Channel 1 is supposed to be a more vintagey, flabbier.
Got it.
Kind of vintagey plexi, loads of bass, loads of flab.
Okay.
And then Channel 2 is supposed to be tightened, far more upper mid-range emphasis.
Okay.
So that kind of what you might think of as the modded plexi sound, moving towards Van Halen. And for me, it comes into its own when you start using modern pickups. They really start to hold on to it in a different kind of way. So it starts just to sound much more modern. That's their thinking. I think they'll get some stick for only having one EQ.
Okay.
Because you might want to have different EQ settings for the two channels. For me, having played with it and when we were setting it up today, it seems to have a sweet spot where the two channels work together really well.
Yeah.
And the EQ works great across both channels. And then if you want to go sort of extreme, so you want a really clean channel 1 and a really filthy channel 2, that's where you get into a bit more compromised territory.
Sure, okay.
I think. Okay.
With the Val?
Revival Drive. So we're revisiting the Revival Drive. A lot of people have said, please compare it to this, was the first thing I got asked. And then, obviously, because people knew these were coming out, let's hear it in the same context.
Okay.
Right.
First of all, awesome.
Not one thing that Dan and I sort of discovered since the last video is if you just switch it between the two bright cap settings, one says
GB.
One's got GB and one says 0 on it.
Yep.
The GB bright cap setting reminds me of our Marshall in the high treble channel.
Okay.
Which has this character that sounds like
Which
this.
we're going to mod it because
Yeah.
it's okay. It adds a bunch more gain.
And that which some people really, really love. And that when I said in the last video that's the sound I've been trying to get away from for most of my life, that's exactly what I mean.
Okay.
That kind of amp in override.
Yeah.
And blimey, it's just a personal opinion. Some people really, really love that sound, and that's exactly what they go for. Personally, I'm liking that 0 preamp setting.
I think,
what about you?
Yeah, 0. The US just gives a tad more bite, so.
I'm probably playing that totally wrong. I love Metallica.
Let me just. I just want to hear that to next to the Constable.
Right. Did you hear the cleanliness of that?
Yep.
The kind of the more straightforward nature of the sound.
Yes.
With less hair.
Yeah.
Is that the right word?
And but the shape in the mid range and everything is just play again.
I promise we'll get Dan playing the guitar in a minute.
Right, I need to get rid of a bunch of bottom end here. How do I do that?
There's a low cut on there
Here we
somewhere.
go. Here we go. Got it. Right. Try this. pretty good.
Closer.
Yeah.
Closer. And if we were going to spend the whole video doing this, I'm sure we could maybe.
Sorry, let me just. Sorry, I've just found the parametric EQ for the mids. So just keep going.
Certainly better results out of the revival drive.
Yeah.
Match that up on the Sheriff, can you?
Okay. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. The even with them, dialed in, they sound pretty close, but there's certain characteristics that they each have. They're sort of there, The gain in the Sheriff is so I've had to turn the Constable all the way up.
Yeah.
So the Constable's obviously a much cleaner, vintagey Marshall.
We've said this before, isn't there? There's what a Plexi actually sounds like and what Plexi style pedals sound like, and they are two different things.
Yeah. Okay.
Usually, if you get a Plexi style pedal, it usually goes into that Van Halen territory, which
Plexi / Brown sound.
There was a lot of work done on that amp, not least the Variac and everything else that went along with it. So
I've been listening to a bit of Van Halen lately.
Oh.
It's really funny. You've got, the change that happened when Jimi Hendrix came along. Same thing happened when Eddie Van Halen came along. His sound, man. I mean, he is such a monster player. His feel is it's just crazy, and the sound. There's a clean element to it.
Yeah.
I think everyone thinks there's so much gain. It's not.
Well, I think it's not as gainy in the bass.
Yeah, right.
So there's less bass anyway. Not least, one of the things that one subject of discussion that comes up all the time, but really came up after we did the revival drive was, are you going for that sound of that from a record, or are you going for the sound of a great amp in a room? Because if you'd have been stood at wherever they recorded, I don't know, Hot for Teacher, wherever they recorded that, if you'd have been stood there next to Ed's Marshall, it would have sounded completely different to what you hear on the record. Because what's it done? It's gone into a microphone, which is a colouring choice. By the way, thank you to Jaques.
Yes, Jaques.
Jaques, spelt Jacques, who came up and had a knock with us. We're trying out a few bass players at the moment for the TPS band, and Jaques was kind enough to come up and have a knock with us. We had a great knock. And anyway, just as he was about to go home, he said, "Oh, by the way, I've heard you talking about a Royal 121. I've got one. Do you want to borrow it?"
Yes, please.
Yes, please. So thank you, Jaques. And what you're hearing today is a blend of those two mics, which is something that's going to be hard to go back from.
But that means we have to get two of them.
Oh, don't! They're like £1,200 each.
They're so crazy expensive.
Maybe there's another option. Anyway, So the microphone is a colouring choice. Then it hits some sort of lovely preamp. Then it hits a desk and a tape machine, and then it gets EQ'd to hell and compressed to hell, and what ends up on the record is very different from what was coming out of the amp in the room that day.
Yes, but when you hear the live recordings of him as well, and I mean it is different, but there's that element of his sound, and it's like rediscovering that. Again, it's just been amazing. You go home and go, oh.
I know. I tried to get into it once. I just can't. I don't have the wherewithal to be able to approach the guitar in that manner.
Yeah.
Just don't have it.
Yeah, amazing.
We did say once that we would do a Van Halen show, didn't we? If there's any awesome Van Halen tribute bands out there and you are Eddie,
there's one called,
and you want to come on the show
and
do some Van Halen, that would be awesome.
There was a band in Australia called Southern Sons that used to be a Van Halen tribute band, and Jack Jones, the singer, it's an amazing singer, but he was he's an incredible guitar player as well, and he used to do all the Eddie stuff, and it was the drummer. Oh God, I can't. Hang on.
Which drummer? Van Halen drummer.
No, this is the drummer.
It was his brother, wasn't it?
It was. Yes, it was his brother. The drummer in
John Bonham.
Hans
Ian
Valen.
Buddy Rich.
There's all my drummer mates are screaming at the TV now. Hang on. Really famous sort of session guy, and he was in the band as well.
Steve Gadd.
Steve Gadd in a Van Halen.
Well, no, you say really famous session guy.
It'll come to me. It'll come to me at 2 o'clock in the morning. No. But yeah, amazing band. Yeah, but if Jack Jones is in the UK, come and show us how it's done.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah.
Massive tangent. Yeah. Perhaps we should hear some different types of sounds rather than me just banging away like an idiot.
Now we've got
power chords.
Now we've got that set up though. I want to go through some guitars.
Yep.
Just because that's dialed in, so I just want to hear it with some quick sopperoo.
Okay.
Because that sounds great with that.
Yeah.
I want to see it going straight to a Tele with the Constable.
Once again, the low output of this guitar, but it's got something about it.
Yeah, it's very.
Interesting. You hear how much less gain there is in the revival drive with this guitar compared to the other two? Check this out. All these knobs. Let's just turn them all up to 10. Nice earthing problem there as well.
So the bridge isn't earthed on this?
No.
Ah!
Well, where'd you get the wire?
Yeah, okay.
But there should be one to the bottom of the...
Yes, there should be.
But that doesn't work.
No.
Anyway. That guitar's worrying those preamps. Worrying the preamps on the mics, I should say.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all my Strats hate me at the moment.
Yeah, so that there's it picks up the changes between the guitars, the outputs of the pickups. It's a lot more sensitive to that.
Feels like it.
Which, you know, is not neither good nor bad. It's just very sensitive.
We've done mindless chugging.
We've done mindless chugging.
Mindless ACD type rock, ACDC type rock.
Yep.
We've done... yeah, that's why I'm struggling. I am struggling to play badly. And I think it's because there's no love anywhere.
Yeah. Let's give a bit of love.
I was just going towards the upper gain ranges of what was available. Clearly, the Sheriff has, or the Victory has, the most gain. Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't know. Revival Drive's got pretty.
There's loads of gain.
Loads of gain in the Revival Drive. Mm. I think the Sheriff has more clean gain, if that makes sense, before it gets really hairy and all the rest of it. Constable, that was it for the Constable.
Yep. And yet the Constable cranked is such a cool sound. It's a lovely spot for that to be.
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, unless there's fuzz involved or real serious gain stacking, I would never have that much gain from one device.
Yeah,
that's not the way I would do things. But we know Martin Kidd likes gain, and there's a lot of it in there. If you like a lot of gain, and there's two other ones as well. There's the Kraken, which is the real super loads more gain.
Wow.
And much more modern voiced, and the Countess, which also actually has more gain in the second channel.
Okay.
But a clean first channel. So interesting.
Very interesting.
What haven't we done? We didn't do anything at the sort of clean end. Could we do like clean, just pushing?
Yes. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Just before, how long have we been going, Simon?
45.
45, okay. That gives us enough time to just have a look at some cleaner sounds. I'm going to put this in the higher output mode.
Here's my question.
Yep.
My favourite sounds in our Marshall are the clean sounds in it.
Let's do it.
Right? And so we have, in that amplifier, is it EL84s or a KD66s in that one?
EL34s.
EL34s, okay. Just interesting to see if we can get, because what I find is that the bottom end in the
that
Marshall,
one that he's pointing to is out in the hallway, by the way.
Right.
It's a 50 watt plexi.
There's a I want to say tightness in the bottom end, but I know I shouldn't say that because I just shouldn't say that sort of thing. But there's a tightness in the bottom end. There's it doesn't. There's a shelving happening at a certain bottom end frequency. It still sounds massive and lush, but it keeps everything together.
And then I think what puts the bass back is when you stick it into a 412, and the 412 adds its resonance.
Right, okay.
But it's fast, isn't it? It's super fast response.
So I'm wondering
to be fair, we tried these into the loop of the 50 watt plexi, and it
didn't do it.
None of them sounded very good, to be fair. And I think that's something to do with the way the loop's designed in that plexi. It was not a very pleasant experience. There was a lot of
loops ain't loops.
To
get a bit political.
What was it? No, in fact, that's one reason they put this switch on, is because loops vary so much.
Yeah.
But it was just overriding everything too much, and it was all like wasn't pleasant. So we went back to the older Hot Rod Deluxe, which we figured was a good decision because that's how we'd done the Revival Drive originally. So level playing field.
Okay.
Like that.
Right. Cleaner tones then.
Yeah. So if we start with the Constable, I've put it in the high output mode, so it'll probably be quite loud at this point. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm gonna just put a bit more reverb on the amp, see if that can. I need a bit of help today, Dan. I don't know what it is.
Me too, mate.
I'm having a real guitar nightmare at the moment. Just not enjoying playing any of my guitars, really.
There's something that we'll get into in another show. I've discovered something with practicing at home. I grabbed a...
While you tell me that, I'll tune my guitar.
Okay.
If that's not too rude.
I've got my Yamaha practice amp, which I love. It sounds fantastic.
THR10.
The THR10. But I grabbed a Big Trees, which is a 1 watt amplifier from Audio Kitchen.
Audio Kitchen, yeah.
And I took that and a couple of pedals home. At the same volume, having a little valve amplifier, the difference is vast. And I started playing and I'm like, I sound awful. Whereas the experience I have with the Yamaha is such a pleasure.
I don't like the way this is going.
Well, I just think it's going to be a really interesting thing to have a look at.
I thought you were about to tell me I'm a terrible guitar player.
No, because I sat down with the one more thing, and because it's so direct, I'm honestly, I can tell you, okay, the last 3 millimeters of my pick is a little bit rough, but the other side's fine. The detail that you hear is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And I sat down with that amp, and we got back off holidays, just trying to get my fingers. I hadn't played for a couple of weeks, and trying to get anything happening with my fingers again. And just being able to hear that level of detail, has been amazing.
Because it forces you to play better.
Because it forces you to play better.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's one of the reasons we all love our, digital this and that, because it's super friendly, easy to play. It's buttery.
Yeah,
all
it's
that.
like you play that stuff. It's like it's recorded and then produced and then played back at you.
Yeah. I'm a personal believer in that. It doesn't do you any favors as a player to get too used to that.
Yeah,
but
Yeah, so I spent a couple of days with this thing, and I came out thinking I could feel improvements being made just from being so, just from hearing the detail. And it's not a top end thing. It's there's such clarity and like you can hear the guitar, you can hear everything about it. Fascinating. So I think
that's
there's
a show
there.
That's a show.
Right. So anyway, here we go.
Right, where were we? Constable. I'm just going to change that bright cap there.
Yeah. That is lovely.
That is very lovely.
Very lovely. Okay.
How clean can we go in the Sheriff? You better go back onto the other channel.
All right. Man, milky.
Way more headroom in the Constable.
Yeah.
Miles more, in fact.
But that low gain, edgy sound in this channel is just gorgeous.
Yeah, it's more kind of Hendrixy, John Frusciante.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I think that's probably in there as well. You just turn the volumes up and the master down.
In here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
The clean sound in this thing, though.
It's very nice. What could happen to you?
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, sorry, but not very musical or inspiring playing, but just trying to play something similar for the purposes of comparison.
Sorry, I just want to hear the Constable with the Tele. Very cool. I didn't, from the last time that we were using the revival drive, I found it really difficult to get a clean sound out of it, but it's there. It is there. But that Constable, man, the clean sound of that's something else.
Something else.
Something else. I think for me, that's where that shines, the lower gain stuff. Because that's how it's been voiced. The chunkier stuff of the Sheriff is crazy. There's I don't know, the way Martin designs gain is very, very cool. He knows that sound really, really well.
Yeah. I also think Martin's a fan of quite high output pickups too. So a couple of his main guitars, one of them is a double fat Strat, or at least a HSH Strat with 2 humbuckers in it and a single coil in the middle, and they're both sounds like a ceramic type pickup in the bridge to me, and that guitar is an aggressive sounding thing. And also he has an Ibanez that he really likes and uses a lot, I think, and clearly not a world that you or I are into, like high output ceramic type pickups. But I think the Sheriff holds on to those sounds very nicely too. I mean, the revival drive, hearing it again, I think we got better results out of it today than we did in the last video.
Yeah, definitely.
I think some of it's down to using that different front end structure on the different bright cap, which was the bit that I was really not liking about it. And clearly you could go on and use EQ2 and all of that. So whatever. There's one thing I want to do on the Sheriff before we go, and that is to say that it does one thing that the others don't do, which using the 4-cable method, which we explained at the beginning, you can actually switch between it and your amp's front end,
giving you an extra channel to your amplifier.
Yeah, so if you wanted to do that with the Constable, for example, you would have to use an AB switch, and you would have to go into the AB switch, out of A, into the Constable, into your amp's effects loop, return.
Yes.
Out of B, into the front end of your amp, and you could do it that way.
Yeah, if you had 2 loops.
Yeah.
So you put the Constable in one loop, and then you put the preamp of the amplifier in a second loop. So send from the second loop into the amp, effects send from the amp back into that.
Yeah.
And then you switch between the preamps like that.
So you, if you're not signal routing minded, your head will have just caved in. It's not possible to use the Constable or the revival drive into the effects loop of your amplifier and switch between the front end of your amplifier without some other switch, whether it's a loop switcher or so that functionality is not possible. It is with the Sheriff. We'll do that now. Let's do it live, and if this gets really boring, Simon can fast forward. The way this 4-cable method works is your guitar goes in here, which means I can go from the output of the 321. Yep. Sorry, Dan.
Just here, mate.
I didn't think it'd be long enough.
You are correct. You are correct.
Check that out for spatial awareness. So, your guitar goes in here. What does it say next? It says amp input. So just turn that amp off a sec. Let's use. That's going to be the effects loop return, isn't it? Can't go into the effects loop return.
So this one.
Yeah, don't use that one. So effects loop return. We need a couple more cables. Right. Effects loop send. Input of amplifier. I believe, is that right?
That's correct.
My vision has got so bad.
Really?
That I would struggle to see that without my glasses now.
Wow.
That's happened in about 18 months.
Yeah.
Getting old. Don't do it.
It's
not recommended. Right, so
found out some really scary stuff at the beginning of the other day.
At the end, you die.
So we're bypassing everything else now. We're just going into the Sheriff and still using the delay. Basically, from the effects return, that then becomes the output of the preamp that then goes to your effects, which in then turn goes back into the effects return of the amplifier.
So we should be hearing exactly the same thing we were hearing before. This is just the Sheriff. And the Tele sounds like this.
So that's now the preamp of the...
That is just the Hot Rod Deluxe. That's the Hot Rod Deluxe with the Hot Rod Deluxe.
That's very cool. So basically it's adding 2 extra channels to a single channel amplifier.
It's almost like you've read the marketing sheet, Dan.
It is almost like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Most preamps don't enable you to do that, to essentially bypass the preamp of your amp and use a separate valve or whatever kind of preamp. As we said before, I hope this isn't too confusing. If you use a separate switcher, it's possible to do that, but with this you don't need that. You can just do it straight from the pedal should you want to.
Very clever. Very, very clever.
And what was the other question? Oh yeah, do effects still work? So if you like to run things in your loop of your amp anyway, such as a delay as we've got there, will the delay still work on the clean amp? Let's make it a bit more obvious. And obviously, because the front end of your amp is completely out, you can have that set however you want it. You can have it set loud, quiet, and then all of your volume is off the pedal.
Great idea.
So yeah.
Great idea. Very nice. Very nice.
So this is a topic we've touched on before. Do you remember when we first got into the Kingsley stuff?
Oh yeah.
And we had the Page and the Maiden.
Oh, and the Maiden
running into the amp.
The OD.
Yeah. I kind of stopped using that stuff when the 2-Rock arrived.
Yeah.
Because
the preamp
in the 2-Rock is nice. Preamp in the 2-Rock is nice. The Diamonds are all right. aren't they? Like loads of cash is all right.
Yeah. Bullion.
Awesome
unfound.
food, that's all right. But if you, I think this, regardless of which of these things you go for, if you've got something like a Hot Rod Deluxe or or any amp, literally any amp, doesn't matter what amp, even a 2-rock or a Dumble. If you want to change the basic character of that amp that is not putting a pedal in the front end, this hitting the effects loop return thing, which again we've done shows on before, is a really good way of fundamentally changing the whole character of your amp without having to spend 1,000, 2,000 on a whole new amp. Plus, of course, any of these will sit on the desktop, run straight into your recording interface, and as long as you add some sort of speaker simulation.
Oh yeah, right.
It's a great desktop recording because they don't require any speaker load, so that's a good application as well. One thing we haven't done, just finally, is just run it into the front of the amp.
Oh, okay.
Victory kind of say it's best run like this into the effects loop return, but just for giggles, as the very final thing, let's run it straight into the front of the amp and see what happens. How do we do that? We unplug the effects loop. Little round of applause for the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe. Always a great sounding amplifier.
Sort of fantastic.
Right, and here's the Sheriff preamp straight into the front of that. Now, Victory say you might need to use extreme gain settings, EQ settings.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like that.
Yeah. You prefer it?
At certain parts of it, I do actually prefer it. It's a bit spongier.
Yeah. Okay. Important point there. That's because that loop return is master on 10.
Ah, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
So here, sorry, this is turning into a really long video. I'm going to turn the Hot Rod Deluxe down.
Right.
And then we'll max this out and see what the power section is doing.
Okay.
So if you keep playing. So going straight into the effects loop return, you can't do this because when you plug into the effects loop return, the master is on 10, right?
Yep.
So now the master isn't on 10 because I'm using the amp.
I really like that.
A lot of buzz in here today. Is that because we're not using... No, we are using... Oh, no, we're not using.
Yeah. But it's that...
There's a lot of gain, a lot of volume as well.
Lot of gain. A lot of gain. A lot of single coils.
As it, I wasn't expecting it to sound that good into the front of the amp,
If you have an amp that has enough headroom, you can often plug straight into the front. And what I like about it is that preamp valve in the front end, it does warm things up.
Yeah.
When I first started experimenting with amps effects loops, and with all the extra cabling and stuff, and when I started using high heavy amps, like, oh, there it is.
I have got to the point now when somebody starts saying effects loop, my brain just goes click. The switch goes off.
Well, especially after the high watt.
Yeah, but then that's because Dan and I tend to prefer amps that have a lot of headroom. Now, if you, let's qualify that and say that if you like amp distortion and you like using a lot of gain in the front end of your amp, then you're in the realms of needing an effects loop at that point.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not a blanket thing, but
that is to say that if you are using preamps and your amp doesn't have an effects loop, if the amp has enough headroom, often it's fine.
Actually, that's why Simon's put that switch on there. So that one is designed, I think, to hit the effects loop return, and that one to the front of the amp.
Okay, right.
So you get less level going into the front of the amp because you've got another preamp.
There you go. Well,
interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I'm sure the microphone's going to fit that. That's my stomach.
Yeah. Well, it's 2:15 and we haven't had lunch yet.
Okay. Right, there it is. Patience, my pet. Brilliant. I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I thought it was fascinating. I personally, I was really, I think the revival drive is sort of, we got better sounds out of this time, especially the lower gain sounds, which was really cool. I love the lower gain sounds of the Constable. That was very cool. But the edgier to high gain sounds of the Sheriff, fantastic.
It's fairly simple for me. Traditional,
right,
wide-ranging, loads of headroom, Marshally sounds up to mid-gain. It's really hard to beat that. It's really hard to beat that. The integrity in it is amazing. You want higher gain.
Yeah.
This is cool. Has extra functionality of being able to switch in the front of your amp if you want to do it that way. And if you want Tweaker's Paradise and more of that amp type, stuff all around the edges. Oh, he's so annoying.
He's on your nose.
Yeah.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and these aren't the only guitar preamps available. I would say that all of them are a significant step up from the smaller digital ones that we've tried, like the Mua stuff.
Yeah.
That is a different thing.
Yeah.
Doesn't have that level of integrity in my opinion.
Yeah. It's
also like a tenth of the price, or certainly a fifth of the price.
Exactly.
What are we dealing with here? Like with all the options on here, 600 and something pounds.
Yeah.
Standard one's £549. £349. $500 in the States, so I'm assuming that's $700 or $800 in the States at least, I would have thought. These come from Canada, and I think that's about 300 quid, 320,
right,
280, something like that. Plus all the import and VAT and all that rubbish that you have to pay if you buy overseas from the UK. If you're in North America, less of a problem. So yeah, serious outlay, but not as expensive as buying another amp.
Yeah, very cool. Excellent, guys. Thanks so much. Massive thank you to our patrons on Patreon, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Also, to our preferred retailers in the UK and Europe is
Anderson's Music of Guildford, Surrey, where you can buy 2 of these things.
In the US of A
would be Riff City Guitar, where you can also buy 2 of these things.
And in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia
would be Pedal Empire, where you can buy 1 of these things, as far as I'm aware. Simon only sells direct.
Yes.
From Kingsley.
Yeah. Brilliant. And also, please, if you feel so inclined to purchase yourself a lovely garment, we both turned up today in
1958 reissue, you see? See, Dan and I both have 1958 reissue guitars.
We do.
This is the Gibson ES335 from 1958. As you can see, depicted here by the no neck binding, it is a reissue. Dan's 1958 Gibson Les Paul there, reissue. We like 1958, so we decided if that pedal show went back to 1958, what would the logo look like? It would look like this.
Did you ever watch the Jetsons?
Yeah.
It's like there's you imagine that as a sign on like the burger barn from the Jetsons. It's very cool. Very cool.
You know why the Stratocaster is called the Stratocaster?
Space race.
Yeah,
stuff.
they were fascinated by the stratosphere and all that. Mad, isn't it?
Mad.
Totally
Absolutely mad.
Totally mad.
Brilliant. Thank you guys so much. Have a fantastic week, and we will see you next week.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.